hit like and subscribe. You're watching the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel.
Peace, family. It's your brother, Marc Lamont Hill. Happy New Year. Welcome to Night School. Every night here on the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel, we hold Night School, where we break down the most controversial topics, the most contested subjects, the most urgent topics going on in the world today. And tonight is no different. I know it's late, but we're gonna get the party started this year, like we always do, with some interesting stories that I think are important. We're going to talk about some things that have been going on in the news, and of course, if you have a question or something at the end, I'll take it for you. I'll answer it for you. Today has been crazy. The last 24 hours has been crazy. I'm still on this crazy writing deadline, writing an essay on scholasticide, or the destruction of the destruction of Palestinian education system. It's due. It's super due. So I've been just working night and day. And in the meantime, while doing that, I'm also trying to negotiate what is the worst pain I've had in a long time in my tooth, in my jaw, and it's making my eye and my head hurt. I don't know what's going on. I don't have any cavities or anything like that. I'm thinking it's a nerve or something. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I just know it hurt. I've been taking 800 milligrams of ibuprofen, and it's been working, but I'm adding them. So now I bought this 200 thing of ibuprofen. I don't know, taking 4 of them, is that the same as taking 800? I can't imagine that it's different. But if any of y'all are medical professionals, let me know. Let me know. We're gonna cover all of that. Unc said, "Isn't Joy Taylor your homie? What's your thoughts?" First, no, Joy Taylor is not my homie. I don't know Joy Taylor. I never met Joy Taylor. I first heard of Joy Taylor today or yesterday when the story broke about all the drama going on at Fox News. I intend to cover it. I intend to talk about it, but I need to read. And so I haven't read the lawsuit yet. And I don't want to be one of those people who comes on the internet and just be talking about stuff without being informed. So I should have an analysis tomorrow. I certainly will need one by tomorrow, because I'm recording Joe Budden podcast tomorrow, and I would be stunned if we don't end up talking about that. And in fact, tonight here on Night School, I'll be talking about Joe Budden and what it means for him to be returning to the set tomorrow, from what I hear, from what he says. We'll talk a little bit about Drake's clapback over the weekend. I guess Friday, really, he released a freestyle, the Fighting Irish freestyle, that raises some interesting questions that I want to talk about. But we're not just going to talk about pop culture. Of course, we got Kamala Harris, who was snubbed during the congressional ceremony. Dude hit her with a, not really, but it might as well have been. We're going to talk about the New Jersey education system. New Jersey teachers no longer, according to a bill that was signed by Governor Phil Murphy, he passed Act 1669, saying that teachers no longer have to pass the Praxis Core test, which is a basic skills test for reading, writing, and math. We'll get into that. We'll give you some updates. I'll be giving you some updates on what's happening in Gaza. It's been, I haven't talked to you all in over a week, or maybe a week now. And so it's really important that I catch up on the latest that's happening in the Gaza Strip. Spoiler alert, it's still awful. It's still illegal. It's still gruesome, and it still merits our extraordinary focus and attention. So we'll be getting to that in just a second. And of course, as we get started here, shout out to Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, which turned 114 over the weekend. Oh, yesterday, not over the weekend, yesterday. It was incredibly exciting to see all the people out there celebrating and working and building. And so shout out to Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, which of course is my fraternity. Organization was built in 1911 on the campus of Indiana University of Bloomington, Indiana, by 10 outstanding, extraordinary men who were attempting to create spaces of belonging in the midst of Jim Crow, in the midst of American apartheid. They were attempting to build something that would last. It was initially called Kappa Alpha Nu, and it eventually was changed to Kappa Alpha Psi. If you want to know later, I'll tell you why. But as we enter the season of Black Greek letter organizations having their anniversaries, and lots of them are, we've seen the Alphas do it in December 4th. We've seen Kappa now. We'll see on the 13th, we'll see Delta. On the 15th, we'll see AKA, right? We also have the Zetas, we have the Sigmas. This is a very busy month for these organizations. I want to make sure that as we talk about these organizations existing, that we don't just talk about them existing, but we have a vision of them thriving. What does achievement look like in 2025? What does success look like in 2025? It can't just be that we have members, although we should, and it can't just be that people become financial, although we need a whole lot more people financial in all these organizations. But we also need to have a vision of these organizations doing more than just fulfilling kind of bourgeois ideals of what success and achievement and even service look like. I'm saying let's build on the tradition of people like Deltas who are on the front lines in Ferguson. Let's build hospitals. Let's build schools. Let's build public housing. Let's create opportunity where there is none. Let's actually, help to create a different world and use these organizations to do that. So, shout out to the Kappa Alpha Psi, to the Noobs. Shout out to the advocates of Phi Nu Pi. I'm grateful to be a member. I'm grateful to be the son of a member. I'm grateful for everybody who stood before me and walked the journey before me. I'm grateful to everybody who allowed me to stand on their shoulders. I'm grateful to everybody who led me on the long, rough, and rugged journey into Kappa Land. Of course, shout out to my line brother Paul. Love you, man. He's the ace, I'm the deuce. He's built a lot tougher and stronger than me, man. That's all I can say, man. I love you, brother. All right, y'all. Let's get on to some of the urgent news of the day. In particular, I want to talk about what's going on in Gaza. As of today, January 7th, although it's the 6th as I record this, in Gaza, in Palestine, in general, it's the morning. It's almost 6 a.m. And as of this time, as of this date, Israel's genocide in Gaza has killed at least 45,854 Palestinians. It's also wounded 109,139 Palestinians. That's since October 7th. And it's important when you talk about casualty reports. Casualties aren't just people that die. They're also people that are injured. They're also people that die from injuries. It's all that stuff. You're talking about casualty reports that are very, very conservatively at 155. But we know that there's a gross undercounting. We know they're not counting the people under the rubble. We know they're not counting people who are dying from sort of secondary traumas. We know that they're just grossly undercounting. We know all of these things, and yet we're still looking at one of the most devastating, one of the most egregious, one of the most indefensible, one of the most morally reprehensible contraventions of international law that we've seen in a very long time. We're not having no Olympic competition here. We're going to talk about what's happening in Darfur. We're going to talk about what's happening throughout Sudan. We're going to talk about what's happening in Congo and Haiti. All of these places are atrocious, morally atrocious. But I focus on Gaza because it's my area of expertise, but also because the United States is actively funding this genocide, and it's something that we need to talk about, particularly on a day like today, when the U.S. envoy, Amos Hochstein, says that the Israeli military will be withdrawing completely from southern Lebanon after it withdrew from another of the nearly 60 border villages its troops are currently operating in. But Mr. Hochstein does not confirm if the Israeli pullout will be completed within the 60-day deadline of the ceasefire deal with Hezbollah. As always, there are open question marks about whether the Israeli military is going to follow the very argument, the very commitment, the very treaty, the very promises that they made. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens. Also be interesting to see what happens if they do not complete the full withdrawal of troops before the end of the ceasefire deal, and what that means, because there's always a tendency to make it look as if Hezbollah or Hamas or Ansarullah, or whomever are always the violators of the peace and the violators of the treaties. In truth, that has never, ever, 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 ever been the case. So I just want y'all to understand that and think about that as we talk about what's going on in Gaza. Israel's military has also launched a manhunt in the occupied West Bank after gunmen killed 3 Israelis near an illegal settlement in the Qalqiya governorate. I'm always fascinated at the extent to which the media representations or the media narratives will talk about the death of Israelis with a greater level of urgency and concern and moral authority than they do the death of Palestinians. I mean, this begins with 1,139 people killed in Israel, not all of them Israeli, but somehow that's been used to justify the killing of tens of thousands. And for those that don't know the story, 3 Israelis were killed, 8 others were injured in a shooting attack near the illegal West Bank settlement of Kedumim. If you've never been to Kedumim, it's an important settlement to actually look at for a few reasons. We can talk about that. Israeli media outlets cited security officials as saying at least 2 Palestinian gunmen opened fire at cars and a bus outside the settlement before fleeing the scene on Monday. The shooting killed 2 women in their 70s, as well as a 35-year-old police investigator from the illegal settlement of Ariel. Now, this incident comes, according to Al Jazeera, as the war rages on in Gaza amid efforts to reach a truth deal. Now, here's what's interesting. This happens in the West Bank. We've already seen what's happening in Gaza. The Gaza Strip has been demolished, devastated for 15 months now. Now you have Bezalel Smotrich. If you don't know Bezalel Smotrich, he's not just the Israeli finance minister. He is one of the faces and voices of the Israeli right, the Israeli extreme right, the Israeli far right. And basically what Smotrich said, I'll tell you exactly what Smotrich said. He said, El Funduk, Nablus, and Jenin need to look like Jabalia. In other words, he's saying that Israel needs to turn the West Bank into Gaza. They need to basically destroy Gaza because 3 Israelis were killed. Now, what's interesting in the Jabalia area and the refugee camp there has been one of the most prominent sites of violence and one of the most consistent places that have been pointed to as evidence of genocide and ethnic cleansing. So he's basically saying we should go into the West Bank and do the same thing. How could you justify that? How could you justify that? And he frames it all as terrorism, right? The terrorism in the West Bank and the terrorism from Gaza. He didn't say the West Bank. I'm sure he said Judea and Samaria. I'm getting a translation, but he said the terrorism in the West Bank and the terrorism from Gaza and Iran is the same terrorism and it must be defeated. One thing that they don't like is nuance and complexity. It's a fascinating, incredibly fascinating situation, but I want to keep talking about this, y'all. Are y'all good? Hit the like button, man. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I'm going to take 3 seconds to take some of these pills. Because I am in extraordinary pain right now. So I took 3, that's 600 milligrams, and I'm finna take this one, and hopefully that'll get me through the night. And if it don't, I'm blaming y'all because some of y'all told me this was okay. So we'll find out. We'll find out. Anyway, a lot going on. I want to talk about, not tonight because I want to bring in some media experts, but on this particular issue. But I want to talk about what's going on with Al Jazeera in the West Bank as well. But also, Israel's relentless bombardment of Gaza continues, according to Al Jazeera, with 6 people, including a child, killed in its latest attacks on residential buildings, taking the toll from assaults on Monday to at least 28. Also, the World Food Program has condemned Israel after its forces shot at a clearly marked envoy carrying 8 staff members near the Wadi Reza checkpoint in the Gaza Strip on Sunday. These are fascinating. Whenever the World Food Program or some of these other international organizations lose staff members or they lose people, there seems to be a kind of international response. And I appreciate it. I mean, it is awful and it is evil, and it does point to how indifferent the Israeli nation state or military forces can be to humanity, to civilians, to Palestinians, to pro-Palestinian advocates, etc. All of that is part of the conversation. All of that is part of the mix. So, so we will continue to cover that. We'll continue to talk about that. But I want to make sure that we at least begin from this baseline understanding, which is that the media representations, the political discourse, and Israeli statecraft all reflect this sense that Palestinian lives simply are not worth as much. We got to talk about that. All right, y'all. There's another story that I want to talk to y'all about. In the meantime, before I get to it, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. We got people dropping in right now who are weighing in on the comments. If you're commenting from Twitter, it's better to do it from YouTube. It's better for me, obviously running a business, but it's also more importantly, it's easier to have the discourse, it's easier to have the conversation. So make sure you do that. Also, everybody, make sure you hit the like button right now. Comment in the comment well as well. Let me know your name. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know who you are. This is an international classroom. It's a global classroom. So I want to know where people are, what city they're from, what state they're from, what country they're from. Make sure you do that. Also, try to share this video. No, not try. Do. Share this video with a friend. Share this video with a group chat. Share this video with the social media community. I want you to invite as many people as possible into this global classroom. Now, if you want to leave comments, cool, but you got to subscribe. You need to be a subscriber in order to leave a comment. And then you can comment to your heart's content, but we always going to be respectful. We always going to be civil. You ain't got to agree. You can criticize, you can challenge, you can even clown me. I don't care. But you can do all of that without using hate speech. You can do all of that without undermining my humanity or the humanity of others. I care less about what you do to me and more what you do to the other members of the classroom. And we got chat moderators in there, and they are watching. You will get a warning in the comments, and you'll get a second offense if you mess up. And when you get that second offense, first time it's just a warning. Second time, we're going to mute you. That means you can't comment anymore. And then third time, unfortunately, 3 strikes you out, we're going to ban you. But again, I don't think we've had to ban anybody, so I don't know about it. So instead of banning folk or putting us in a position where we have to ban people, let's just be cool in the comments. Baby K said, Mark, go to the dentist. Hey, Prop, go to the dentist at once or as soon as possible. Tooth pain is nothing to mess with. I agree with you. This tooth pain is crazy. The reason I didn't go again is because I have a deadline for this really important essay on scholasticide in Gaza. And I work on television. So if I have major dental work done, I can't talk all day probably. I can't write all day. And unfortunately, sometimes the work comes first. I'm not going to miss like heart surgery or like getting my appendix taken out or something like that. But, I can, if it's just pain management, I'll rock with it in order to get this work done. We'll talk about that. Shout out, by the way, to you, Isaac Hempseed. He gifted 5 memberships. He's the first person in this 2025 year to gift 5 memberships. I appreciate him. I appreciate you, my brother. Thank you so much. And thank you for in the 4th quarter coming through and really keeping the channel alive. Y'all, right now, we trying to start this 1st quarter off with the same energy we ended the 4th quarter with. And that is a lot of engagement, a lot of views, a lot of support, a lot of memberships. I feel you, baby cat. I promise you, I am going to go to the dentist. I give you my word. I give all of y'all my word. That said, let's move on to this next story. I think it's an interesting story, and I think it's been misrepresented in the media. So let's talk about it. Public school teachers in New Jersey are no longer required to pass the state's basic skills exam in order to get certified. New Jersey Democratic Governor Phil Murphy passed Act 1669. It was part of the state's 2025 budget. He did this back in June. And the reason he did it was because there's a teacher shortage. And when you're trying to recruit more teachers, when you're trying to fill the seats or fill the classrooms with teachers, you have to take emergency measures. And so he passed this act, which went into effect 5 days ago, January 1st, 2025. So now, when you decide to become a teacher and you're seeking that instructional certificate, you don't have to take the Praxis Core exam. The Praxis Core exam in most states, except for I think New York, New Jersey, and now New York, California, and now New Jersey, you have to take what's called the Praxis exam, the Praxis Core test. It's a basic skills test. It tests your reading, it tests your math, it tests your writing ability, and it's administered by the state. Now, when you take the journey to become a teacher, you take the Praxis Core test. That's the basic test. And then you also have to take the subject tests. So that means, like, for example, if I was a high school Spanish teacher. So for me, I would have had to take the Praxis Core and the Praxis Spanish. If you're social studies, you take the Praxis Core, practice social studies, whatever they call it back then. This was the argument. Now, of course, the right has seized this. They've overseen it. They have spoken out about it without any real information, and they have made this into a literacy test. They basically said now that in New Jersey, to be a teacher, you don't have to be able to read, right? That's literally what they're saying. And Fox News has picked this up. Of course, everybody's favorite know-it-all, Elon Musk, has said the same thing. And it's not true. I want to be very clear, because I understand the impulse to say, wait a minute, why don't you want your teachers to be able to pass basic reading, writing, and math tests? It doesn't seem like an unreasonable ask. Who gets hurt when we relax the standards? I understand that would be an argument, and of course, that's what your boy Elon Musk is banking on you saying. That's what the right is banking on you saying. He says, so teachers don't need to know how to read in New Jersey? Seems like it would make it challenging to teach kids how to read. So what the right has done, as they often do, is reconstruct, rearticulate, reshape, and basically misrepresent the discourse. No one is saying that you can be a teacher in New Jersey and not know how to read. That has never been an issue. That's never been at stake. There's never been a moment in the history of American education. Let me take that back. There's never been, there's never been a moment in American education where the majority of teachers, or even a significant slice of teachers, did not meet the literacy standards of that moment. Now, again, we can talk about what literacy means across different times, which is what gave me a pause there. But at the core, no one thinks teachers shouldn't be able to read. What they're saying is that the core exam, the Praxis Core, is preventing us from getting a higher yield of teachers. So some of you are saying, well, of course it does, because if they can't pass the test, why would you want them to be teachers? Well, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked. So first thing is, according to all the evidence, all the data, the Praxis exam is not a good measure of whether or not you will be an effective teacher. The idea of the Praxis exam is not to decide whether you can read and write. It's to decide whether you possess the basic skills necessary to be an effective teacher. But there have been decades of research that have demonstrated that the Praxis exam is not a good index of that. The people who can't pass the Praxis exam often end up being excellent teachers. And people who kick butt on those exams don't necessarily translate into effective teachers. I'm not saying that there's no value in having those skills that are on that exam. I think I want my teacher in any school I'm in to be able to read, write, do math, all of that stuff. The point is that the test has significant validity problems. When we talk about validity in the context of research or social science, which the question is, does this measure what it's supposed to measure? Again, does this measure what it's supposed to measure? And what the critics, the experts on this subject have said is that the test doesn't measure what it's supposed to measure. It doesn't measure basic literacy. It doesn't measure teaching aptitude. Similarly, the SAT isn't a good measure of how well you'll do in college. It's a very good predictor of how well you'll do in your first year of college. I don't deny that. But overall, the SAT is not a good measure of how well you'll do in college, whether you graduate, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we have to ask ourselves, do we want that to be a thing? We often say that with the GRE, right? Is the GRE a good indicator, good predictor, good measure of how you'll do in graduate school? Some say yes, some say no. That's a different conversation. But the point is, we have to at least raise the validity question, and we have to at least represent the argument properly. The other issue that gets raised when we talk about the basic skills exam for teachers is that it doesn't just operate as a poor predictor of how well you'll do as a teacher. It is particularly bad at assessing the aptitude of working class teacher candidates, of poor teaching candidates. I mean, poor, economically poor, right? Of Black and brown teacher candidates. These are simply not good measures. So what the praxis does is it ends up weeding out a bunch of really qualified teachers. Somebody said, and it's a great question, what is a good predictor of how good a person will be as a teacher? I mean, I'm not sure that there's a single one, but authentic assessments are what people want. People want teaching observations. People want assessments of your content knowledge, also your pedagogical knowledge, right? How well do you understand the science of teaching, and also your pedagogical content knowledge? How well do you know how to teach science? How well do you know how to teach Spanish or whatever? By the way, those terms come from Lee Shulman, who is one of the most brilliant scholars of learning and teaching theory of the 20th century. He passed away a few days ago, so rest in peace to Lee Shulman. Circling back, though, what the right has done is make you think that suddenly teachers don't have to prove they can read in order to be teachers, that there's somehow going to be this influx in New Jersey of illiterate, whatever that means, teachers. Now, here's the thing. By the time you get to the praxis exam, you've already graduated from college, an accredited 4-year college. You've already taken your methods courses. You've already taken your core courses. So how many people do y'all know who graduated from college, met all the requirements to be an English teacher or a math teacher, and can't read? Exactly. 0. Also, it's weeding out the core exam. It does not weed out the subject area exam. That means that I don't have to take the core exam, but if I'm going to be a social studies teacher, I still need to pass the social studies test. I still need to pass the foreign language test. I still need to pass the math test. How am I going to pass a test that assesses my expertise in teaching English literature if I can't read? So again, the test is duplicative. In other words, the test that they're getting rid of was proving something that was already provable. So now we'll get more working class teachers. We'll get more Black and brown teachers. We'll get more people who we need to get there. Now, once the shortage is ended, you could say, well, do we still want to keep that pattern going? That's an interesting question, right? If you actually believe, and this is why I disagree with some folk, if you actually believe that the test is invalid, then I don't want to impose it again later under the idea of, well, now we can raise our standards now that we have a surplus. Like, no, it's not. You're not raising your standard if the test doesn't measure the right thing. Let's get rid of the test. I'm all for testing and assessing teachers or teacher candidates to become classroom teachers, but getting rid of this exam is the right thing to do. The research shows it. Teacher experiences and narratives show it. Observations show it. We've seen so many moves here at the practical level, even to recruit teachers that have benefited from these alternative methods. So don't listen to the conservatives. Don't listen to these people. And by the way, if they're that concerned with education standards, maybe they shouldn't be trying to get rid of the Department of Education. Just a thought. Anyway, y'all, we can move on. I want to talk about something else. Can I show y'all this? You know what? Let me take this down because I want y'all to see this on your own. I want y'all to see this on your own. And I should have had this locked and loaded. I did, but I somehow hit the wrong button and deleted it. So forgive me, y'all. Forgive me. I'm going to take this down. This banner for a second as I pull up this thing. Can't wait for this painkiller to kick in, yo. Ooh, Lord. Ooh, Lord. Yo, tooth pain be the worst shit in the history of shit, yo. Like, as my New York people say, dadas. I can't. I can't. You know, I am in, I ain't gonna say excruciating pain, but I am in considerable pain. Like the whole side of my face. Ooh. By the way, one quick note here. Boaz Kim Music says something really important, which is retaking the test is costly. I think the reading portion had 32 questions to be answered in 40 minutes or something crazy. Scheduling tests is tricky as well, right? Scheduling is tricky. It's also cost prohibitive. So what happens is if you take the test and you fail it, you may not have another $150 to take the test again. So that creates more problems. Again, it's there are a lot of reasons why the test is problematic, but if you let the Republicans tell it, this was just a bunch of Democrats who are trying to lower the standards, and we know that ain't what it is here. It's not what it is here. I want to show you this video because I think it's fascinating. And I'm gonna bring this joint up because I need y'all to see the ridiculousness that's happening in Congress right now. And again, this ain't one of them situations where I'm outraged and I'm like, oh my God, Kamala. I just think it's a little funny. I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting. That's whew. Whew. Sorry, y'all. This toothache is now moving in. Oh shit, Jazz LP got me shook now. Got me thinking I'm about to have my face fall off. All right, y'all. So I'll give you the gist of it. Senator Deb Fischer, if you don't know, is a senator from Nebraska. She was reelected, about to begin her third term. You know what? Let me pull these banners up. Otherwise, Princess is going to murder me. So let me start over, y'all. I apologize for a little technical difficulty. All right. Kamala Harris gets snubbed. If you haven't seen this video, it is going viral. It's a clip of Nebraska Republican Senator Deb Fischer. She was being sworn into the new class of U.S. senators in the 119th Congress. This class includes Democrats and Republicans. And of course, Kamala Harris is there to swear everybody in. Well, Kamala Harris swears in Senator Fischer, but Senator Fisher's husband didn't seem to want anything to do with Kamala Harris. Watch this and see for yourself.
Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you for your work. And thank you. Congratulations to you. Thank you. Okay, welcome. Okay, sure.
That was awkward. Let's look at that one more time.
Congratulations.
Goes in for the shakes.
Thank you. Congratulations.
She goes, tries to shake his hand.
Okay, welcome. Okay, sure.
And she was like, ooh. Awkward.
Ready? 1, 2, and 3.
So why did that happen? You know what? Let's watch it one more again. I'm sorry.
Congratulations.
Shake hand. I'm showing it because the Republicans are trying to defend this.
Thank you. Okay, welcome. Okay, sure.
Wow. Now I'm sorry. I'm sorry, y'all. This is so disrespectful and so indefensible. Now, let me be clear. If Senator Fisher's husband, Bruce Fisher, had said, I'm not shaking the hand of a genocider, I'd be like, cool. If he said, I'm not shaking the hand of somebody who has a ridiculous position on fracking or whatever, right, fine. It's a moral position. But the worst shit that Kamala Harris believes in, the worst political stances she takes, the worst policies that she's endorsed, the Fishers be all on them. The Fishers like that stuff. They about that action. So it ain't like this is a moral thing. This looks like racism. Now, what's interesting is people started trying to cape. They came in quick with the cape. And they said, well, Bruce is holding a cane, which is true. I want you to look at it. I don't want to ignore that. He's holding a cane in his right hand. Look at it.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Now, there's absolutely no reason. Let me not say that. There could be a reason why he would not want to switch hands. But typically what people do is they switch hands. They switch the cane to the other hand and shake. Or they do the left hand shake, which you're not supposed to do in general, but you do it if you're disabled or otherwise can't move. It makes sense. We all could accept that. The cane there. But he doesn't do that. But it's not just that he doesn't shake her hand. Because not shaking her hand is like, okay, you ain't shaking her hand, right? Homeboy also didn't look at her. He didn't make eye contact. He acted like she was disgusting and he wanted no parts. That's my issue, right? It's not that, again, maybe you don't shake hands. Maybe he has a religious belief that says you don't shake the hands of women. I don't know. Although that would also be concerning to me. But it seems, based on what we know, that ain't the issue. It seemed, based on this, that maybe he just didn't want any parts. Didn't want any parts. Now, I'm going to show you something else real fast. Just not to be petty, maybe to be a little petty. Look at this video. This is from 6 years ago when she won. When she won 6 years ago, her husband was there. He seems to show up for the swearing-in ceremonies, which again is cool, but like if you ain't going to play ball, then don't play ball. But he shows up to this one.
So help you God.
I did.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate it. That's just thank you.
It's an honor.
Means the world. Good.
Can we do a photo with your immediate
Okay.
family and then
That would be
add
good.
everyone in?
Immediate family.
Thank you.
Do you want to go on the other side of Vice President? Would that work?
That works. And the color.
Right.
Thank you. Good. Looking here again.
Now, he didn't have a
Thank
cane.
you.
Great.
Fairness, he didn't have a cane. I got to be honest about that. But again, he also made eye contact. He also looked Mike Pence into his eyes. No pettiness there. He was compliant, moving around for the photos. Like he was about all that action. And yet with Kamala Harris, he couldn't even look up. These people aren't even pretending not to be racist. So whatever you think of Trump or whatever you think about this moment, please understand that Republicans are coming back to Congress. They're coming back to Washington in general, the White House, everything with their chest poked out. They're coming back feeling very confident. They're coming back feeling very strong, and they don't have any fucks left to give. So please understand that that's what happened. If you're Debbie Fisher, I mean, maybe that's what you want, right? Maybe you want your husband to disrespect her because you get support from the base, but you can also hide your hands and say, I didn't do nothing. I shook her hand, right? Maybe that's a throw your rocks, hide your hands situation, or maybe her husband just did something wild that she wasn't expecting. But either way, he was the plus one. And if you're the plus one, don't be coming up here making news stories. It's her first day back in the Congress, and no one's talking about what her vision for the state's going to be. No one's talking about what her policy goals are going to be. All they're going to talk about is a racist ass husband doing some racist ass shit. And that, to me, is not how you want to start this. All right, y'all. Joe Budden. A lot of y'all been asking me to talk about Joe Budden. Y'all been texting me, emailing me, tweeting me like, yo, what is the latest on Joe Budden? That's what y'all been saying. And I have followed my general rule of minding my own business. That's a rule that I am going to continue to follow. As you know, Joe Budden missed some episodes of the podcast. As you know, from his own mouth, I'm not saying anything that Joe hasn't said. Joe was sleepwalking and got into some trouble while sleepwalking. He inadvertently walked out of his home and to the home of a neighbor. It was everything that I understand about it. It was an accident. It was unintentional and unavoidable, to the extent that, again, if you have a sleepwalking issue, you can't control what you do. But more recently, in the last couple of days, he was actually charged with lewdness. And the Edgewater Police Department last Monday, December 30th, issued a press release saying that a neighbor reported seeing him, quote, completely naked in the hallway. I don't want to get into the details of the case, but what I do want to point out is how the government, how the police department, how the city has handled this. The press release that they put out, to me, was excessive. It was unnecessary. And it was missing important details. At the time of the press release, he hadn't been arrested. They didn't mention that he had a well-documented medical condition known as sleepwalking. I mean, you don't have to believe me, although I've known about a sleepwalking issue for a long time. You can also look at old tweets, old posts, and old conversations. He talks about this. So it's important to understand that, and the press release didn't seem to do that. They almost framed him as some kind of pervert or some kind of sicko, and he's not. He's somebody with a sleep disorder, or I'm not a doctor. I don't want to call it sleep disorder, but whatever the medical condition is that causes sleepwalking, that's what he has. And of course, his attorney issued a statement saying that the department's press release was, quote, inflammatory and slanderous. And it forces them to wonder if there is a racial dimension to this. I think it's a fair question. If I'm a white person and I have a known medical condition that causes me to sleepwalk and I end up at somebody's door, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to me. It's scary to me. Why not treat it as a medical condition? This is why I always talk about abolition. I don't just talk about it in the abstract. I talk about it in practice. If someone has a medical condition, let's find a solution that treats the medical problem. Why are we trying to criminalize? Why are we trying to issue summonses and arrests? And why are we calling for blood when it seems like the answer here is care? He didn't have ill intention. And I understand that intention isn't the only thing here, but it seems to me that they're telling the police department have told a story that doesn't need to be told in a way that doesn't need to be stated. So I'm excited to hear and see Joe Budden back on the podcast. He issued a statement. Was it yesterday? He posted the Michael Jordan press release saying, "I'm back." You know what I'm saying? I haven't spoken to Joe about this, so I'm only basing it on what I saw on social media. But I gotta tell you, when I saw that "I'm back," I was like, "That's cool." I'm excited to see that, because some of y'all were under the wrong impression, the absolute wrong impression that he was ducking the smoke. Look, it was the end of the year. I'm guessing my man was on vacation. I know he was on vacation. A lot of us were on vacation, not me, but it's because I'm broke. But you can't get mad at brother for going on vacation. Y'all said he was ducking the smoke. He wanted to address these issues. I don't know what he's going to talk about tomorrow, but I do know that he's already addressed the issues. He's addressed them on and off the pod. He doesn't have to say another thing. If he wants to say more, he can, but he doesn't have to. I also know that there's a lot of issues going on in the world, from what's going on with Skip Bayless to what's going on in the NBA to what's going on with Drake to what's going on, and we want this brother's voice. And so I'm excited that he's returning. And for those of you that thought that he was going to hide out or that there was some secret plot going on, there wasn't. He's on vacation. He's back. And we're about to have a great year of potting with the whole crew. Shout out to everybody on the Joe Budden podcast, man. Nothing but love. Speaking of Drake, and I'm speaking of Drake because we were just talking about his latest music dropping. Drake finally did something right. And when I say that, I don't mean any disrespect to Drake. I just mean the battle strategy that we've seen between him and Kendrick Lamar has shown Kendrick to be a superior battle tactician. Forget about lyricism for a minute. Forget about who made the better song. That's a conversation we should have. But Kendrick has played these things right, and he's about to end up at the Super Bowl in less than a month. Meanwhile, Drake is looking questionable in the public eye. The lawsuit against Universal Music Group, some of the other choices have not looked as strong as people may have wanted him to be. But on Friday, Drake decided it was time to release some new music. Not that hard drive stuff, not any more compilations, and thank God, not any more battle raps. Let's get off that. Let's move on to the next thing. Drake dropped what I would call a kind of post-battle reflection. It's called the Fighting Irish Freestyle. It's not like the kind of music that gets released straight to like Apple or Tidal or something like that. It got released kind of like a video where he's rapping off in the distance. It's an interesting approach, but at the end of the day, he released this track. And this is the Drake that I want to hear from. This is Drake rapping. This is Drake not singing, not doing hooks, not trying to be too cool for school, not Drake the misogynist, not Drake the faux tough guy. None of that. This is Drake doing, I think, the thing that I love the most from him, and that is the critical, self-aware, vulnerable bars. I think he does that as well as anybody. And he is spitting. And when you look at the rhyme schemes, when you look at the flow, I mean, he is doing like, he's rhyming the same words. The flow, he's killing the flow, even doing a couple bent rhymes. You have to have some bent rhymes if you're going to, rhyme unrealistic budgets and limits. My brother's got tickets. They loved every minute. It wasn't just business. It's somewhat suspicious. I'd run up the digits as I guzzle. These are the ends of these lines. But he's doing something interesting here. He's talking about what it means to feel betrayed and abandoned during this battle. Now, Drake has done the I'm the Don, I'm the Mafia, so it's lonely at the top rhymes for years now. That gets old and stale. But I think what's different here is we know who he's talking to. These aren't exactly blind items. He's talking about LeBron James. He's talking about LeBron James. How do I know? Well, it's called the Fighting Irish Freestyle. Now, it ain't about Notre Dame, the college team. No, it's about Notre Dame High School, where LeBron James played, where he was number 23. And yes, Drake has a tattoo of LeBron James in that Notre Dame number 23 Fighting Irish jersey on his body. Yes, he has a tattoo of LeBron on his body. And I think what Drake is trying to communicate here is, and I think I know what Drake is trying to communicate here is, we were close. We were friends. He's talking about how close they were, right? Remember, we traded watches. I gave you the Arabic dial. You gave me a numbered edition. He said you would even check up on my son like a pediatrician. Sure, convinced this gang shit was rooted in love when it isn't. Show me how different we are. There's blessings in juxtaposition. So he's saying, like, we were tight. We were close. And then you pop up supporting Kendrick. You pop up spitting the words and dancing to They Not Like Us. And for Drake, that is a declaration of war. They Not Like Us, I'm saying, is a declaration of war. And supporting Kendrick in that moment is an articulation of disloyalty. And you know what? Drake is right. Drake is 100% right. Drake's 100% right. If LeBron James is as close to Drake, and Drake is as close to LeBron James, if their friendship is as close as it seemed, and as close as they both said it was, then you can't be neutral. You damn sure can't take sides. You either got to stand with Drake or say nothing, which I guess is neutral. You know what? You could be neutral. Just don't say nothing. And if you're that cool with Kendrick, then you stay out of it. You say, look, that's my homie. I'm staying out of the beef because I don't do rap beef. Fine. No one will trip about LeBron doing that. But right now, LeBron is looking funny in the light with regard to this relationship. DeMar DeRozan, the other person who Drake has kind of targeted, same thing. I got clips of DeMar DeRozan from years ago saying Drake has my forever loyalty. Drake was there for me. Drake did this for me. Drake did that for me. I'm forever be loyal to him. And then you dancing on stage at the pop-out show. Then you in the video for Not Like Us. Again, I understand you from LA. I understand you got ties. I understand you got relationships. Then you stay out of it. So Drake is right to feel some kind of way. Now, by the time you get to verse 2 and verse 3, you might say, okay, it's a little bit whiny. It's a little bit repetitive, but I'm okay with that. Now, I would love to see Drake take it a step further and not just be reflective about the feeling that he's feeling of, yo, y'all betrayed me, but dig deeper about how he got there and why he got there. Why do you have that man's tattoo on you? Why did you feel so close to them? Why did they feel so close to you? What does that say about the industry? He gets at some of it, but I would love an even deeper layer from Drake because I know he has the ability. Now, most rappers don't even give you the level of vulnerability, the introspection that Drake gave you there. But Drake is capable of more, so I want more from Drake. I'm not a Drake hater. Drake does shit that annoys me. Drake makes music choices that I don't care for. But Drake as a spitter, Drake as a feature person, Drake as somebody with the capacity to make 12 hot rap tracks, Drake is as good as they come. I wish he rapped more, honestly. That said, he's rapping now. He's rapping now. I can't wait to see what's coming up next. Is it an album? Is it more mixtapes? It can't be more of this. It needs to be something else. But at the end of the day, I need to see what Drake is dropping because whatever you think of Drake, he's still the biggest seller. He's still the biggest streamer. He's still the biggest voice in rap. So like, don't take him for bad and don't sell him short. I think he's going to have some problems hitting number one because I think he's going up against the Universal Music Group machine and they're going to undermine him no matter how successful he is. But it ain't from a lack of chops and it ain't from a lack of talent and it ain't from a lack of commitment. The boy works harder than anybody. So let's see. But it was finally good, just to tie this up, to see Drake actually kind of getting past the battle space, reflecting on it a little bit differently, and taking us somewhere else. Now, the other question is, does LeBron ever respond to this? Because there's some nuggets in there that I'll talk about them maybe on the podcast tomorrow, but there's some nuggets he drops in there that could be seen as dry snitching, could be seen as threats, whatever. But how does LeBron doesn't rap? So how does LeBron respond to this? That'll be another question we got to unpack. Anyway, y'all, that's it for tonight. Wanted to drop that on y'all. Wanted to give y'all a range of the kind of content that we that we're gonna be covering this year. Everything from Gaza to pop culture. But we're going to continue to have a radical agenda, a radical vision, a radical analysis. But we're gonna have some fun here too, and talk about a range of things because the audience is growing, and I want to make sure that everybody's getting all these conversations, yo. So I appreciate y'all for watching. I appreciate y'all for supporting Night School. Hit the like button, y'all. Hit the subscribe button. And if you're so inclined, hit that join button. That's right. Hit the join button and become a monthly subscriber to the channel. We are starting a new year. Help us start this new year off right by joining the channel. Subscribe is easy. Hit that subscribe button, but also hit the join button. When you hit the join button, you become a monthly supporter of the channel, which gives us the financial stability we need to continue to give you the War on Gaza report, which is coming back, to continue to give you updates on international politics, to continue to give you radical analysis of domestic politics, and to give you cultural criticism, to bring on amazing guests who run the gamut. I want to do all of that, but I need your support. So please continue. Again, shout out to Isaac Hemseed for continuing to support. He gifted 5 memberships. I'm so grateful. Shout out to Let's Go Ikamashu, who said, yeah, yo to the noobs. Said, I thought he might have had too much drink. It was on, nope. Just a sleeping disorder, y'all. Let's not make up narratives. I know you're not doing it, but people will take those narratives and run with them, and I don't want to do that. Jackie Drew Jr. said, thank you for giving us your time. No, thank you, all of you, for giving me your time. I do this for you. I do this. I serve your will and pleasure, right? I am somebody who's doing everything he can to work with you and to offer you a classroom filled with radical ideas and interesting conversation. And hopefully we can do it all year long. So again, hit the join button if you can. If not, go to Cash App, go to PayPal, go to Venmo, go to Zelle, and make a one-time payment. No monthly commitments here. All you got to do is go to one of these platforms and drop whatever you want. If you drop $1, we are grateful. If you drop $1 million, we are extra grateful. And if you drop anything in the middle, we're equally grateful, y'all. All we ask is that you do what you can to help support the channel. But tonight, we'd like to get the year started off right. We'd like to get the year started right. If you're not a monthly channel member, why don't we start the year off right with a $10 donation? If everybody watching right now were to support Night School or to watch Night School right now, just $10 for the month. Just drop a $10 bill in the Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle. $10 will get us all we need for the month. It'll allow us to meet our financial goals for the month. If you can't do 10, do less. If you can do more than 10, that'd be great. But $10 will be our average goal for tonight. Anyway, y'all, thank you for watching Night School. I can't wait to see y'all. Can't wait to talk to y'all. See you tomorrow. Peace.